Hello friends, welcome to this video. This is going to be another video on socket programming. In this video, we are going to implement a TCP client server architecture in C programming language. So let's move toward the code. So here we have two files, server.c and client.c. So here in server.c, we're going to paste our all the header files. Next, we're going to start with our main program. It's going to return a 0, that is an integer value. When the program ends, it will return 0. Now we need an IP address and a port. So for this program, both the client and the server are going to be in the same machine. So we're going to use the local host, that is the local address 127.0.0.1 as our IP address, and any port number which is greater than, let's say, 5000, because there's some standard port definition which are already used by the system. So you don't use them, like 80 used for the web browsing, 21 for FTP, 22 SSH. So don't use those which are already reserved by the system. Use the port number which is freely available. Okay, so let's start with our address first. IP, this is the local address. Then we need a port number, an integer, let's say 5566. Okay, so now we have our IP and the port number. So now we will define some variable and structures. Int server socket, then we need a client socket. Okay, next we need some structures. Struct, okay, sock addr in. Okay, next another variable. Now we need to transfer information here and there from the between the client and server. So for that we need a variable to store those information. So we're going to create a variable called buffer with the size 1024 and integer n. Okay, so all the variables and structure are defined. Now we need to create a TCP server, a TCP socket, server socket. We're going to use a socket function, and next is the sock underscore stream. Sock stream basically is refer to the TCP protocol. If you're going to use UDP, then it's going to be different. Okay, so now let's print a message if there's any error. If server sock is less than 0, then p error. Socket error, and we're gonna exit the program. Okay, and here, and if the program does not exit, this means that the TCP server socket created. Okay, so the server socket is created. Now we need to provide it some information within the structures. So let's do one thing first. Memset address of the server addr, server addr. Okay, so let's fill it with null values up to the size and give it the size of this structure. So now we have filled this structure with this value, this null value, and this is basically size of this. Now we're going to provide some values in it. Server addr.send family AF inet basically means internet version 4. Next, server addr.syn port, and this is the port number which we have specified here, that is 5566. server addr dot in addr, and again s underscore addr equals to inet addr and ip. IP refers to this local address. Okay. Okay, so this information is done. Now we need to bind this address and the port number. Okay, so for that we're going to use the bind function. First we take the server sock, then some structure. Server addr, size of server addr. Okay, if n is less than 0, then again p error, and here it's bind error, and we're gonna exit it. Okay, and if the program does not exit, this means that we have bind the port number to the address. So let's print that bind to the port number percentile d ampersand n, not ampersand, slash n. Okay, so bind, we have now bind the port number. Now we're going to listen for the client. Okay, so for that we're going to use the listen command, server socket, and we're going to listen for the 5 clients. Let's print a message here. Listening. Okay, so now the server is waiting for the client. Okay, so it's going to be a simple iterative server where one client is going to be connected at a time. Okay, so let's create a infinite while loop using this one as the condition. So now this loop is going to run infinite time. Now here we need to accept connection from the client. Okay, so let's say client socket accept. We have accepted connection from the client. Server socket struct okay, addr ampersand client addr, and okay, we need one more thing, addr size equals to size of client addr, and here we're going to provide address of addr size. Okay, so now here we can say the client has connected, server has accepted the connection from the client. So we're going to print client connected. Okay, so the client is connected. Let's do till here, and now we're going to move to the client part. Okay, so some of the information in the client and the server remains the same. First of all, this address. Okay, return 0. Okay, so we need some things from here. We gonna need this. Okay, so till here we can copy. Okay, we don't know this client sock. We need only one variable. Let's call it sock. Let's call it ADDR. Only one, no, the client one only. Okay, so change these variable to stock. So server sockets is created here. Just make sure that the variables are same. Sometimes they may, because you have copied from one file to another, things may remain unchanged. Thing you need to change. Okay, so now we are in the client, so we need to connect to the server. We need it to be like in the servers, in the server. After that we bind, but in case of client we just need to connect to the server using the connect command. Okay, connect socket struct. Oh, what I've pressed, stock ADDR pointer ampersand ADDR size of ADDR. Okay, so now we have connected to the server. Let's print a line connected to the server. Okay, so now we are connected to the server. Let's now compile this file. Oh, okay, I know what is this. So we are in the C, not in the Python. So here this thing matters because it's a character. You have to put it in single quotes, not in double quotes. Okay, so it's running. Listen. Okay, so you can see TCP server socket created, bind to the port number 5566, and the server is now listening for the client. Now let's move to the client now. Again, we have to make sure we make proper changes in the client one also. Okay, now let's run it. Okay, so it has compiled. Now we're gonna run it. Okay, so in the client part you can see TCP server socket created, connected to the server, and on the server side you can see client connected. So this much part of the program is simple and it's working. So next we need to make sure some exchange of messages between the client and the server to make sure that the communication is established, and then we're gonna disconnect from the client and both the server. So let's close this program. Now let's so first of all the client connect and send message to the server. Okay, so we have a buffer. Okay, so we're gonna empty the buffer and fill it with 0 just to check it's properly empty. There's no garbage value. Now we're gonna copy some value into the buffer. Instead you can take it as input from the client, but I just put it as manually. Hello, this is client. Okay, so this message is simple. Hello, this is client. Just a simple message. So let's print this to printf, and we can say the client. So this is client. The client has printed this message. Perfect. Okay, now we're gonna send it to this server using the send command. So first we need the socket, then the message, the variable containing the message, or the length TRL, and then it's 0. Okay, now we have sent the message to the server. Let's now go to the server part. So server here would receive a message from the client. Okay, Again, we're going to clean the buffer variable, receive from the client socket into the buffer variable, size of buffer, and then is 0. Okay, now we're going to print the message from the client. So this message is from the client, ls, a new line, and then the buffer. Okay, so we have print this message. Okay, so now the message from the client is printed. Now let's send a message back to the client. Now the server is going to send a message back to the client. Again, we're gonna clean this, and we're gonna have a message into the buffer. Hi, this is server. Have a nice day. Okay, this is simple message. Okay, let's print it from the server. Server percentile s, new line character, buffer. Okay, so we have printed it on the screen. Now we're going to send it to the client socket, the variable containing the message, buffer, size of the message, or the length of the string, basically. Okay, so now we have sent the message back to the client. Okay, now what we can do, we can close the connection here. Let's say close. Okay, so this client should be closed. Client disconnected. Okay, so now this client would be disconnected, and it will again start, go to the starting of the loop here, and the server wait for the client connect, and again it accept connection, and there is exchange of messages. Okay, so now we will move the client part where it will receive message back from the server. Okay, so now we again clean it out. Okay, so now we're going to receive message socket, and we're going to receive message in this buffer variable with the size 1024. Let's print this message on the screen from the server. Percentile s, new line, buffer. Okay, so now we're going to disconnect, close socket, printf, disconnected from the server. And return 0. Okay, so the program is simple. First of all, we can compile this server. So you can see, so server is created and is now listening and waiting for the client to connect to it. Okay, so in on the client side, you can see TCP server socket created, connect to the server. So client has sent this message to the server. Hello, this is client. Okay, now go back to the server. Server has received this message from the client. Hello, this is client. Now the server has sent this message, okay, back to the client. Hi, this server. And the client received this message from the server. Hi, this is server. Have a nice day. Okay, and then client disconnected here. Server also disconnected. And here you can see the message client. So all these message exchange takes place so at such a rapid speed, fast speed, that we cannot even note the difference. Okay, so what we can do, we can again connect. So you can see again the client is same client we have connected, and here you can see client connected, this message is received from the client and this is sent back to the client. Okay, you can see the messages. So from where we can see there's an exchange of messages between the client and server. Again, you can see the client connected, messages exchanged, and the client disconnected. So this is all just a simple program where we have the TCP client and the server. Both are connected to each other. Exchange of messages takes place, and then they disconnected to each other. So, but here the server run continuously, so you can so you have to manually disconnect it. Okay, so I hope you just understand what a TCP client server is, and you're able to code it. And if you have any problem or an issue, you can comment below or message me on my social media. For my social media, check the description. Thank you. Have a nice day.